Good. Hey, if you don't mind, we'll say the pledge and have a moment of prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, be with us today as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind the best interest of all the residents of Adams County. Help us to use your word as our guide and to just do the very best we can up here. Ask all these things, Lord, in the name of your son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, you received the minutes from the November 12th meeting, I believe it was. Any questions or comments on those minutes?
I'm okay with them, Stan.
If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. That motion passes. Moving on to county auditor. All right. Start right at the top here.
I passed out to you prior to the meeting. Eric, here's one for you and Dan. Weights and measures monthly report submitted by Inspector Hackman. You'd like to enter that into the record?
He is busy again. All right, make a motion to accept that in the record.
I second the motion to accept the weights and measures Mr. Hackman presented.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug, accept the weights and measures report. That motion passes.
And then we have weekly health insurance claims, Allied. Total amount is $77,999.36. And that is medical is $11,827.21. Prescription. Small print. $66,307.61. There was a must have had an overpayment on something of $135.46, which brings the total to $77,999.36. And I did verify the claimants.
I move that we accept the weekly Allied, both medical and prescription amount $77,999.36.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That motion passes.
Next, we have payroll claims. Payroll claims are in the amount of $386,889.38. $386,889.38.
Move we accept the payroll amount of $386,889.39, Stan.
Second.
Motion passes. Doug and Stan.
Okay. Glenda had sent to you the payroll time card approvals and noted that she had skipped the one. So
Right.
you
We got two sets.
separately, you've got two sets of payroll time card approvals. If you want to do those individually, we'll do the one for October 24th first.
So the October 24th payroll time
card
cards.
approval.
You guys have a preference on that?
I don't know, you want to do them together?
Questions? Yeah, let's do them separate.
Okay.
Since they're two separate.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the October payroll claims.
I second Stan's motion.
Stan and Doug on the October 24th claims. What else have you got?
Okay, the next one is the
Do we need to do the second one
We're
then?
gonna get the next.
Yeah,
one
it's
right
for
here.
11/7.
11/7.
Yep.
And we received both of those.
Yes.
So we've had an opportunity to review both of
Those
those.
were sent via email.
Right.
So you need a motion on this second one also?
do, please.
I move that we approve the second.
Second.
Time card.
Doug and Stan on the second set of the November 7th time cards. That
Okay.
motion passes.
And then the final thing I have, I need you guys to approve a fund transfer from the St. Mary Wabash River to the mental health in the amount of $16,410.93. This is towards the end of the year. We kind of get short on a few things. We have to move things around in the budget. And this is one of those. And since we want to get that paid, we're not going to wait to do it next month. So we just moved.
Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by
You're the only
Doug. That
one.
motion
You're
passes.
the only one that needs to sign it.
Okay.
There. And that is all that I have. 5 minutes.
Thanks, Tony.
You had 17 last meeting. It's 17 items.
I know I had a lot of stuff.
Financial items.
Okay.
And I'll get those all down there in a couple of minutes.
Moving on, Nate, on up.
Tony, I'll take those.
There you go.
Got a couple different items for you today. First thing first, though, would be the bid opening for Bridge 5. Bridge 5 is Blue Creek on County Road 000, just north of County Road 300 South. You should have in front of you a short little bid tab. What I'll do is just read off the contractor's name, information regarding the bid bonds, addendum, acknowledgement, or 496, as well as their bid. I have 3 bids today. Start with one on the left. First bid is for B&B Paving, Fishers, Indiana. They have 4 line offices. That's just the envelope I have here. Good. So you got bid bonds, acknowledgement for the addendum.
Is that this paper here, Nate?
Yep, so just, that's the bigger form. I'd rather than create a custom document, I just started with what I had, and I'll be doing the bid tab on for you for next week.
I'm trying to find the Indy.
There is no names on there.
Wrote mine at the top.
And right at the top. I
Oh,
wasn't
I
sure
see.
who all I had and what were gonna get submitted, so. All right, so I've got the bid bond addendum acknowledgement, Form 96, so the bid from ENB Paving is for $166,000 and no cents, 166,000.
This is what road again?
000.
000. Okay, near, use that.
Next one is from Milestone Contractors LP, that's out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's their Form 96. Bid bond. Acknowledgement of the addendums. Milestone. Bid is for $106,000, so $106,073.45, so 106,073.45. And the last bid is from Judy Excavating Inc., Fort Recovery, Ohio.
Did Milestone have all the bid bond and the addendum in the Form 96?
Correct, yes.
What was the third firm again, one you're opening right now?
Judy Excavating.
Okay.
I think they do just about everything we do, don't they?
What's that?
Judy.
Judy, they've been very successful with us.
Yeah.
Didn't get every project, but they've done 2 recent bridge projects with us. Milestone's actually working on one for us right now as well, so. Let's see. Good. Acknowledgement of the addendum. Bid bond and 190. Yeah, perfect. So I got those 3 items. All right, the base bid from GE Excavating is $137,307.05. 137,307.05. So what I'd like to do is take those under advisement. I'll put the bid tab together, send that out, notify the apparent low, and then I bring that back to you at your
Back
next
for-
meeting for
Once you review the bid, make sure everything's compliant.
we'll issue, and then after the next meeting, my intent would be to issue a notice of intent to award before Thanksgiving, so that they can get that scheduled.
Move that we take the 3 bids under advisement.
Second. I just think that it's always interesting when there's that much variation.
Yep, when you start getting the small projects, it really just comes down to scheduling on a project this size. it's good to get the bids because you're looking for who's got work and windows in their schedule.
Yeah.
It's not like buying something off the shelf at Walmart. It's not that narrow. It really comes down to their approach, timing, what they're proposing to do for it. So, nope, again, thank the contractors all very much
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
putting these
good.
together. It does take
Good
quite a bit of
aggressive
work.
bidding.
And, we're glad to see it. So again, thank you to all of them. On to the rest of my report for you, just updates for you on Bridge 96. That was the one on 300 East, just south of 1.4. The application for federal funds has been turned in, so now it's just a waiting game at this point. I don't anticipate hearing anything until maybe in December on possible interview if we get past just the early application phase. So probably won't have any more updates for you for a couple months on that. And then lastly, Bridge 73, that's the one on Salem Road between 200 and 250 North. Milestone Construction has started on that project last week. They've been shipping out some of the concrete. Following a follow-up that I did last Monday, there's some additional areas that are gonna have to be removed. So the scope's kind of increasing from what the conditions were in 24 when we checked this out and measured it out. Now there's more areas that are delaminated that we're finding as we're working on it. So it's just naturally increasing. I've got that well within my budget. It's just gonna be a little over what we anticipated originally from that work. So, but that should be poured. We're hoping to pour the concrete as early as tomorrow. If that can be done tomorrow or even Thursday, depending on weather, it should be open before Thanksgiving. So
Good.
but that's all that I have for you today. Any other questions for me?
I have none.
Else for Nate?
Some things you
Stan?
just don't know until you know.
Yeah. Well, it can't be sure until you start working on it like that. So I'll be glad to have that one done. That's the last job for this year. Not for much year left. So,
Good.
thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Yep.
This one here's for 2026.
Yes.
Brad, come on down.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Brad,
Couple items today. First, we might as well do our monthly draw. For the month of November, the MVH draw, $321,275.64. $321,275.64. On the backside, the local road and street draw for the month of November, $52,528.98. $52,528.98.
Are there restrictions on that local road and street like they are on the NVH?
Yeah, there are. I mean, what you're supposed to use it for.
It's not quite as narrow though.
No.
these show, both funds are showing an increase, not substantial, but
Yep.
more than a decrease.
So apparently people are driving more, which is good. Keep
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah. I move we accept Brad's report, both MVH and local road and street.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That motion passes. Report's accepted.
So the next items, I have 3 permits. They're all for different companies. So the first one is for Indiana Michigan Power on County Road 150 West between 7 and 800 South. They're just replacing 2 bad poles.
Place 2 what?
2 bad poles.
Bad pole.
Yeah.
You wanna do them all together or you wanna take them separate?
Oh,
Well, since they're each
let's take them
separate.
Separate.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to approve that permit.
I'll second it.
motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. That motion passes.
Is it okay if I have them sign them all at once?
Yeah.
The next one is for NIPSCO on County Road 700 South between Highway 27 and County Road 150 West. They are installing a gas main to service the new subdivision out there on the corner. Big Bear.
Right?
Yeah, so they're installing a gas main. They've already got it partway down by the high school bus garage. They just are gonna hook on there and finish running it over there.
So it's running in the road right away? Down
Yeah, it's in the right
700.
way. Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's right along your news section right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thankfully, all the grass didn't come in real nice.
Yeah.
So I move we accept NIPSCO's permit on 700 South.
I'll second that.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan, approving that permit for NIPSCO.
And the final one is for Jay County REMC on County Road 500 South between 500 West and 550 West. They are moving the poles and power line to the back of the right of way. This is one of the roads we're converting. And so we've got a wider right of way. So they are coming in and just moving everything to the back of the new right of way.
Okay. I assume that's good for us.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay.
Yeah, so get them moved, we can start grading and.
Sure.
Motion to
Very
approve.
good.
I second Stan's motion, REMC.
Motioned by Stan, seconded by Doug, RMC.
I see your gift tabs.
Mhm. Sure can.
So other than that, this time of year, not, the guys been out, for dirt burning. And Monday, our dirt loader went down. So today, there's a mechanic coming from McAllister's, look at that and get it going again. Something with the DEF, so don't think it's too big of an issue. And so today, they're out checking catch basins and spots along the road where it looks like water might be standing. With all the
I know
corn
I'd
fodder
ask you,
and
is it too late to patch, or did you look at that spot up on Winchester?
the oil patching is done. We're still running some winter mix, which is just the cold patch they shovel out. We're
Yeah.
still doing some of that, depending on how cold it is, if it sticks well or not.
Yeah,
Yeah. The actual oil spraying is done.
it's just a rugged bump. that's
Yeah,
all.
yep. Other than that,
Well, I was out doing my thing in front of Am Central the other day and your dirt burner machine went by. I don't know that I have ever seen that machine up close
Okay.
and personal.
yeah,
That's a nice machine.
yeah, it is. It's a very nice machine.
Now, that was used when we bought it, right?
Correct. That's
Yeah.
2019 and with that,
It seems to me to be in unbelievably nice shape for something that takes that kind of abuse and is 7 years old, 6 years old.
yes. Yes, it is a very nice machine. And there again, we appreciate you guys allowing us to do that. What a difference it's made. I might have said this before, but last year, can't remember, 2 years ago, man, the first year we had it, we did over 77 miles.
Yeah.
And, compared to before, it might have been 6 or 7.
Yeah, wow.
So what a
Huge
amazing
difference, yeah.
that has been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a nice machine. I'm glad,
Yeah.
glad we got it bought.
So as far as winter time and mornings and all that, nothing's changing?
No.
Okay,
And I guess maybe that is another thing, just to remind people, winter is coming, just be prepared for it. Be prepared to drive in it. You never know, so.
Well, one of the things that we have now in process is that that county app that we talked
Oh.
about, being able to put some communications out there and
Okay.
whatnot. We don't have it installed yet, but we did approve purchasing that, so
Okay.
it might not be up and running for this winter, but in winters to follow, having that app on your phone might allow you to have a better feel for what you guys are doing, what's going on in the county, highway conditions,
Okay.
road closures, bridge closures.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how we'll use that, but I see that as being a real improvement in the way we communicate things that are happening in the county with our residents.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Good.
Yeah, so that's been approved and I think we're in the process of.
Sheriff, how long does that take to get that up and running?
Depends on how fast our department heads get things back to them when they start making contact. Honestly, department heads, they start thinking about how they want it to look. They need to be looking at other counties that have it, so they have an idea. It all depends on how fast they get the information back.
And how many departments can we put
Up to 9, I think, if I remember correctly, so lot.
So how do we choose and designate which 9 departments?
You know, at this point, I think it'll probably come out naturally. If you have a need, our departments have a need to communicate regularly with with the residents of Adams County, that probably, I don't know that we have 9 departments that need that, but I could be wrong. So then we may have to, but I would encourage you to begin to think about,
Okay.
nose around out there, see what other counties have done,
Yeah.
because it's coming.
All right.
Will that coincide with the sheriff's app?
Yeah,
No,
yeah, they have to live
They're
live
separate.
separately. They're similar, but they have to live separately, as I
You can
understand
put
it.
links to each other's, but they are separate because of mine draws from our RMS and Offender Watch and other things like that, so.
Some
it's a
things that are
line feed
unique to that
pulls through
sheriff's
that.
app.
Will we have anybody that's a point person on that?
I don't know. We'll figure that out. At this point, it looks like, Barb and Megan and EMA have kind of taken the lead on it. But I don't know that it makes sense for them to be the point person as far as the countywide app.
Okay.
If you got a county administrator, that might be a good project for them.
And that's all I got.
Okay,
Thanks, Brad.
thanks, Brad. Anybody, other questions for Brad?
No, I'm good.
We kick him out off the hot seat. Okay. Rick, what have you got for us?
There's a lot of stuff that's been going on, but you guys can read.
I keep thinking about that flag that's way up on top of that courthouse and when we're gonna get that resolved as far as the automation it takes to lower and raise that. Have you had any communication with John recently about what the missing parts are and where they're at and when they're coming and?
No, it was just some mechanism that had to be made to function it from down below.
Okay,
You know, I don't know if it was a toggle switch,
okay.
it may be, but right now it's gotta be done by climbing up there and manually up and down. But I'll reach out to him.
Well, I hate that. And we can't go back and go back to the flag out front, but it kind of is frustrating that we got it half done and then weren't able to push it over the edge.
I didn't know if you one of my employees, Phil, was off last week for previous, and he was off Monday, but he's back. With that being said, maybe a little bit this week, next week, I may try to take some time off.
Good.
If you need to know the specifics, I can get with you.
Good.
But I'm around my phone.
I'm sure you've got it under
Okay.
control.
Covered.
Please do.
I think, is it today you guys are meeting with engineering?
We are.
Yeah.
About 12:30 in here. Yeah.
You don't need me, but very good, we're the same thing, weather.
Yeah.
Be careful. Everybody walking in and out of the building as much as we can. Do our best to get it solved.
Sure. Good deal.
Other than that, that's-
Anything you need our help with? Okay. Other questions for Rick, guys?
Nope,
Did they come
appreciate your
for
work, Rick.
Maintenance on the heating at the courthouse then?
Yeah, it has a leak, trying to find it. Right now, it seems to be a slow leak, but we need to find it. We put Freon in it and it's working.
Is it a Mitsubishi unit that
Yeah,
heats that?
it's just that same darn unit. It just pops up another leak here, there, here.
Huh. Is it old?
Yeah, they're probably a good 18 years
So
old.
we put them all at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that's probably the old Freon unit too.
It is. It is. And if you go replace that one, then they're all out of killer, they're not the same as the other ones. But we did put Freon in last Friday. I checked on it yesterday morning. And, when the compressor went out last year, I got the heater and wired it up every morning. About 5:30, I was going in there, turning it on, so it would be warmer in there for that. But it was working fine Friday and yesterday.
Good.
Is there should we be thinking about ultimately the replacement of all of those Mitsubishi units over
We
there?
need
And
to.
if there's a better solution today than what
Actually, you know, when I walked the building over there with Tom.
Yeah.
looked at things, he was gonna come up with, and I didn't think about asking him that last week when I was walking this
Right.
building.
Right.
Come up with, what do we wanna do there? We wanna
Good.
go back to what we have now.
That's what I was wondering, is if there's a better
Better,
solution
Better
today than what we
solution.
did 20 years ago.
so next time I'm sure I'm gonna have conversations with you.
Sure, they'll be around. Good deal.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
That's a heat pump, Rick, you're talking about? Yeah. Okay, heat pump, okay, so the, yeah, okay.
Saw Michelle come in. Hey, we're running early, Michelle. Do you mind? Come on in. Come on up.
How's it going?
Hey, good morning.
Hi, Michelle.
It's got some stats.
Thank you, thank you.
I've got good news.
Okay.
Look at the big table over there. Just where you're at now?
A lot.
How's little Peanut doing?
Good.
Would like to see a
Almost two.
current picture. Yep.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Ed. Ran out, but I can give you mine when I'm done. Hi, so just a little bit of an update on January to October. So we're almost through our second year of demonstration with NDOT. Numbers are still increasing, even comparing public transportation year to public transportation year, which is such a blessing to be continued to increase. We're adding new riders every day. One of the organizations in Bluffton called Home Court had been providing transportation for their workers. And beginning January, they will no longer be doing that. So we are picking up all of those work trips. So I'm gonna have to add a couple more drivers just to sustain their load that we will be picking up, which is a blessing.
Okay, what organization is that again,
It's
Michelle?
called Home Court. They go into or businesses or clients and they help with like daily tasks, medicines, but they service a lot of Adams County. So the Home Court business is based out of Bluffton, would come over and transport the Adams County workers to the Adams County homes. And beginning in January, they're no longer gonna be doing that. So we are getting all of their workers. So they'll still stay in Adams County, but,
How many, do you have any idea how many workers you're
it's
talking
a
about?
dozen so far, and that's just been in a week.
Okay,
So we're keeping a notebook full of all of the different schedules that they're gonna have because it's gonna be a reoccurring trip, you know, every Tuesday, every Friday, so that'll be a substantial increase in ridership just starting off the year.
So we're still okay capacity wise?
We are, yep. We're still not fully using all 8 vehicles every day, so we definitely have some room that we can use. I just need to hire some more drivers, which takes some time, probably a good month to be able to get a driver to where they need to be able to operate on their own with as far as the certifications and the trainings and the physical and you name it. But I did get good news. For our first year demonstration, they gave NDOT gave us $50,000 in federal money. I asked for more this year and you guys signed a letter backing me and they gave us 100 for this year, which we've already been, I've already blown through it and we're just in quarter 3. And then for next year, I submitted almost a double budget and I had to justify and I have another meeting, but we've been approved for 250,000 in
Wow.
federal and 42 in state.
Wow.
Yes, so someone just asked me this morning, where is that gonna go? It's gonna go right back into especially my driver pay, just to get them paid for what I believe they should all at least be $15 an hour. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I will be once we get to this point, so what a blessing.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got a board meeting at the end of the month. so
Yes, yep,
Is that something we'll bring up?
yeah, I wanna go through and get you guys' approval as to what I can pay everyone starting in January, so I wouldn't have the program without my workers, so I wanna treat them well and pay them what they deserve. So,
You will be interested to hear that we've been working on this countywide vision plan for almost a year now. And part of that countywide vision plan is transportation infrastructure. And Adams County Transit figures very heavily into our vision for Adams County going forward, having transportation available through multiple different sources for all the residents of Adams County. So that's just, I just wanted to, you're a really important piece to what this group, the group that we've assembled, the steering committee, sees as the vision of the future of Adams County. So
Awesome.
we appreciate what you're doing and value what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, and the garage has been awesome because the weather's starting to get crappy.
Sure.
And like, it's so nice because my drivers, I've told them that whenever they're out with a council on aging vehicle, they're welcome to park their own vehicle inside. So I went in there the other day and there was 3 personal vehicles. I was like, I just love this, you know, like they are taken care of while they're taking care of Adams County. So it's just been, I mean, I cannot wait. I mean, I can wait for snow, but I cannot wait for them to not have to clear their windshields and let the hydraulics run for a half an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll be able just to roll right away.
Yeah, what a
Speaking
blessing
of
it
drivers,
is.
how many different drivers do you
I have
use?
11.
11?
Yep, and I could use at least 2 more, so.
Really?
Mhm.
And they all have CDLs or
They
what?
do not, so NDOT does
Okay.
not require CDL anymore, but they all have for hire.
For hire
Mhm.
Yep.
passenger, yeah.
Yep. So they have
Mostly,
for-
mostly older retired
I would say
individuals?
the bulk are 65 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So they've already worked their main gig. This is just, they benefit more from helping people than they do from the
Right.
money I'm able to give them, but,
Sure.
That's great.
they're awesome. So, yeah. It's been going really well.
Did you get anything figured out with the internet to the new building?
I did.
Good.
So I worked with Mike Brown. He's awesome. So he and I came up with a
Good.
solution for that. So
Good,
I will have 6 operational cameras probably in the next 2 weeks out there.
good deal.
So
Awesome.
our investment together will be protected. So
Yes, good.
great. Well, thanks so much.
I've seen some communication on titles and where titles need to be. Have you got all that sorted out?
I
Are
did.
you're all on top of that?
Tony
'Cause-
works awesome with you.
Okay,
on
cause
it.
I see that and I'm just like, Michelle's gonna handle that. I'll need to worry about it.
Absolutely. And then you did have a question. I responded about that little building that's adjacent to our new
Yes,
garage. So
yes.
I think that's Decatur Church of God and they do the hero bags there.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. And
Out
you have a
of-
key.
I have a key. So if you
Okay.
ever need to get in
We,
there.
we might wanna take a look at that.
Sure.
Out of your riders that you have, are you getting quite a few Amish or is it
Honestly, that whole dozen of new riders are all
all
Amish.
Amish?
So I would say at least a quarter of our ridership is Amish. So
Okay.
I'm grateful that they've accepted us and
Right,
utilize us because we are way cheaper than most of their other fares that they would.
yeah,
have
I'm
to
sure.
Good.
And safer.
Absolutely. Yeah, my drivers are awesome. And all my vehicles have cameras on them. I made that jump about a month ago and they record out and back. So if there ever was an issue or any question, we're covered.
Sure. Good
So,
deal.
Yep.
Very good.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Michelle.
much. Yep.
You wouldn't have 6 kids on the garage.
6 cameras on the drive. Yep.
Is it all?
Yeah. You're welcome.
Give Mike a call. Maybe.
Yeah. Clayton, what have you got for us this morning?
So, and this was just sent to me by Mark. Just for introduction's sake, so but really we just need a motion to accept introduction. It would be ordinance number 2025-20, which is short titled, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners, County of Adams, State of Indiana, which confirms a prior ordinance vacating certain alleys located in the unincorporated town of Pleasant Mills, Adams County, Indiana. It's more of kind of Mark and I doing a little bit of cleanup. So in 1982, it would be ordinance number 1982-5. The county commissioners vacated the alleyways in Pleasant Mills. When a vacation of an alleyway occurs, generally, say there's a property owner on each side of that alleyway, it then goes to the middle of the alleyway, and their portion of the alleyway is then added to their property in fee simple. It's been brought to our attention by at least lot 8 and lot 9. They've just basically been requesting that process be taken care of officially. I think it just never was. So really sit with the age of this ordinance, we're just introducing this because we'll have to have a brief public hearing on it and then get it recorded so that we can properly vacate those alleyways.
Motion to introduce ordinance 2025-20.
You'll have you keep it. It's got an exhibit. Second. Okay,
I was sleeping.
motion made and seconded and we're passed. So we'll look forward to hearing more on that and look forward to the public hearing.
Yep, and then I don't have anything else to present unless you all have any questions for me.
Page now.
Just a quick question. I know we'd been working with the nuisance ordinance out at Country Acres. And in talking to the sheriff, it sounds like he's served papers to everyone that was involved with the nuisance ordinance and presented them to your office. So I don't know if we need to move ahead with that on any further action.
So I'm personally looking into that because I think previously before my arrival with our office, Julie Marie Brown generally handled nuisance ordinances. So I'm trying to get up to speed on that. And yes, the sheriff has provided me with the documentation, so I'll be moving forward to the extent that the county can.
Okay. Cause I know I got one telephone call that somebody was out there working on one of the properties that had been condemned. And so he was concerned that they were gonna be restoring or renovating that to live in, so hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, I'll try to have an update for you guys here in the coming weeks on that.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Like, we need to wait until you have the public hearing, for us to put that in the ordinance history.
Yeah, because it's just introduced right now. It can't be adopted until after public hearing. So we'll have it. Oh, yeah, don't sign it, yes. Yeah, don't
That's
sign
what
it yet.
I wondered.
We'll
I
need another
signed this
copy,
like we
because it's just introduced,
Okay.
because it can't be adopted until, it's
Throw
fine.
it away.
It's okay, they're not effective signatures.
There you go.
That's fine.
Good deal.
We'll handle getting the public hearing scheduled.
I'll just keep it in
Hang
my
on
little
to
box
it.
here.
Whenever we finally do adopt it, we'll have it all signed.
Save paper.
There's no date on this thing.
We're good.
It's just introduced. It's not
Introduced
adopted.
is,
Yeah.
There's gonna be a
it's not
public hearing on
adopted,
it at a future meeting.
so it doesn't need table because it's just introduced.
Too late to sign it, let's vacate those out.
We're just
Okay.
ahead of the game.
Anything else for us, Clayton?
No.
Okay. Mike Brown, come on up.
Stan Ag, you're welcome to move up closer if you're having problem hearing.
It is hard to hear back there.
I know.
It
I
is,
know.
it's terrible back there
I
under
know.
that.
We've
It's
been
like the
avoiding
tone of silence back there. I
Yeah,
hate it back there.
unless the presenter speaks up quite loudly, you flat out can't hear back there, at least I can't.
That's what that microphone's for, just like
Yeah,
on this desk,
it's,
if you wanted to hear back there when someone's talking, so. And it's never up here, no one ever uses it, but.
Here you go.
This is. And I'm not even sure where the system now is.
I've never even seen it used.
We've had it up there, but we thought it was making, reverb
feedback,
noises.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not even sure whether now it's even set up to work properly because it's years of not being used.
Yeah.
And so it may not make any difference today, but it could.
Just to set the stage, we have been having, actually, Mike and I have been having conversation, and we've got a small group that's starting to talk about, Mike is beginning to think about retiring. And as we think about Mike's role with the county, and we think about finding somebody that can fill that role, it feels like a very daunting task to find somebody that has the ability, skill set, the experience that Mike has had. So one of the questions that we posed to Mike in a meeting that we had recently was, how could we make your job simpler such that somebody could be a higher likelihood of being successful as Mike moves into retirement phase and we have a replacement. The first thing Mike began to talk about was the complexity of our system and how complex it is and the added complexity of supporting non-Adams County government entities. And as a result, we've asked the town of Geneva if they wanted to kind of listen in on this conversation. And I also invited the city of Decatur, but we don't have a representative here. But thinking about life after Mike Brown and how that could be simpler, and is there an opportunity to make Adams County IT support simpler by maybe having a different relationship with the cities and towns and municipalities that we support. So I know Mike's been thinking about this, and I asked him to come today. And if he had some thoughts on it, talk about that, and maybe even make a proposal that how going forward, we could make that job simpler in his eyes. So does that fairly set the table, Mike?
Sure it is.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you asked me over a year ago to get in with a survey with the state.
Mike, can you speak? Can you hear him? Okay, Ag, okay. They're
Why
having
don't
a
you guys
problem.
come on up? You've got more in this game than anybody else. Why don't you guys come on up?
Yeah.
So you can hear better.
Yeah. So basically, I finished that survey, which took me months to do. It was 92 pages long, and each page contained multiple questions. And I wrote at least a paragraph for each one of those questions, and sometimes a whole page or more on how we're built and how we're structured and all that. The sense I got back was that very few counties in the state do as much for their county as what we do in IT. That's what I gathered. And this was.
For the county or for, entities that are not part of the county government?
Both.
Both, okay.
Both. I got that back from them. That, and they sent them off to two IT groups. One was with the University of Purdue. They took the survey and they read my responses. And IU, IT department, both of them, and they covered different aspects of that. So that was set up by the Indiana Office of Technology. And for us to have the added groupings of towns and cities, plus law enforcement. Law enforcement in many counties, they do their own thing. And they're completely separated off. And I got that impression from them. I even verified it with different vendors that work and help support different counties, that they said that's true, that law enforcement is basically on their own. And so we're not, my department with mainly three people, myself, Ethan, and Bob, not only manage the Adams County government departments, but take on all the law enforcement, some fire departments, and then the city of Geneva and the city of Decatur. It's a lot of responsibility. Then on top of that, Steve, what I brought in is I brought in some security people from the outside that's all they do is security. And I spent a long period of time working with them. They came in, they gave presentations and so on. And one of them stated that we have an insurance issue because cities and towns have their own insurance policies and cyber insurance different than ours. And if something happened, there could be a lot of finger pointing. And it doesn't matter, in their opinion, whether everyone says they'll pay. But when it comes down and it's in the millions of dollars, if it's ransomware, in the millions of dollars to recoup and so on, they may fall back on it. They can find an opening. Our own people that we work with travelers told me that we're not your friend. That was his exact words. The IT director for our own insurance company said that, and please don't put that in the newspaper. That if they can find one reason why they don't have to pay, they will not pay. One individual that we set up a standard, and if one individual didn't follow it, that would be enough for them to say that they would not pay. So we had to have complete and total compliance with individuals or aspects of this with multiple insurance companies where finger pointing could come about and they maybe wouldn't pay their portion, even if it was their fault, you know, because now we're including a vast group of people compared to maybe their particular part that was just right out here. So I've done a lot of work with this and, you know, thought about it for quite some time. And I wanted to bring this forward to everybody. And I've had meetings where I've talked about it. Stan's been involved. Steve, you've been involved. You've heard the security companies when they've come in, they've been very helpful on many things about, you know, our kind of poor connections that we've had in Adams County based upon some things that I won't even talk about right now, but both of you were involved and you heard those reasons why that we have a much higher rating that's going out to the federal government on what our connectivity is in Adams County that's quite different from the actual experience that we have. And you know, they pointed it out why that's the case. So the federal government looks at us and they say, you have marvelous connectivity within Adams County, but reality is it's not nearly what is being reported. Right. And if any one of you want to take this on with me, come up and see me, I can explain it, but we don't want those things to go out of newspaper. Right. So based on all these reasons and so on that we have, I left it up to the people that we had in that meeting when Steve was there a few weeks ago. And it was kind of the recommendation that maybe we ought to pursue a fair means for them to move off of our network, but try and assist and help and try and come up with a really good fashion to make that work. Right. But police departments and fire departments are not part of this. In particular, police departments, because they still use our software that's over in the sheriff's office. They got to fall under that umbrella because that software runs internal. So if we got the firewall that sets up into here, here's the internet up into here, here's where our stuff is in here. And the only path to it is through that firewall. The police is down here. They're not on the internet. So even when they're in their cars, they're in their internet now, but now we gotta allow them in to the cars because the software is down here. So as long as the software is under that firewall, the police departments have got to be on our network. They cannot function to be off our network at that point.
So a discussion that we would have going forward would include keeping the police departments as a part of our IT infrastructure, but we're talking about moving the non-police, I'm not sure what we're talking, fire seems to be kind of a hybrid, part here, part there. But what we're talking about, and for those folks from here, our guests from Geneva, what we're talking about is facilitating the town of Geneva and the city of Decatur to maybe move off of our IT infrastructure and to have their own IT world that they live in. But we also have an option where we could help them do that. And that's, I think what I saw as your last maybe communication with me was that we might be able to partner with them, host their servers here, but then there would have an outside vendor that actually would provide the service that we currently provide to them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly it. And how we can manage that is when I started here the firewall and everything was managed internally. State doesn't really want that. State says you can't keep up with things. You should have outside management. So right away, I had an outside company that we hired, and we got brand new equipment, brand new firewalls, and we put that in and they manage it. And then we also get help from them to manage our individual switches that we have inside, our new switches that are there. And we tried to get some updates throughout the county, but we're not fully up to date compared to what Adams County switches are. The cities and towns are a little bit lower. City of Decatur is still on end of life stuff. Geneva, we got them updated somewhat on what we could afford with the ARPA funds that the council gave them. We moved them up to a level, but they're not to the same level as what we purchased. We just didn't have enough money to get them all the way up to the same level as ours. And so they're better than Decatur's, but they're not quite to where we were. But we had help with those people to try and get all that to work. We did go under contract with AT&T with Geneva. And we put that stuff in with ARPA funds as well. And we continued their use with CFS so that we could get, we couldn't afford through ARPA with Geneva to put in fiber in every one of the buildings. So we had to work with what was available to get them connected, because the expense to put in fiber in some of these places was just going to be outrageous. We have to pay to have it installed. Okay. However far it is to run the fiber, and for them to run for just even a city block is literally in the tens of thousands of dollars. And if you're going multiple city blocks, it could be anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 based upon what they have to cross, roads they have to cross, and especially if they're railroad tracks that they have to go around. And so Geneva just couldn't afford that route with the amount of money that they had offered them that was approved. We could not do it with fiber, so we had to look other ways to do it. We went with AT&T, which it seems to be better in the southern part of Adams County to use that. So we brought those in to go wireless with a lot of their perimeter buildings and still use fiber coming into the city hall. And so everything comes wireless into the city hall, and city hall uses, and the police department uses fiber to get back to us at that point. What we can do, and I mentioned to the two groups that we work with, both of them are Indiana companies, IT companies. I asked them whether they wanted to partner with us with our data center that we have, and whether they would like to just continue to work with the cities and towns. We could pass this stuff over to them so that Geneva, for instance, wouldn't have to change any of their current connectivity that they have. And most of these people, I bought services from these two companies that Geneva benefit from. And we didn't charge any upcharge. So basically those charges would still, they'd be the same. Like for instance, software and so on. A lot of these people, they would go out and maybe we bought software from them, but if not, they would have to go out and get like maybe the Microsoft software, but it should be the same cost on a lot of those things. And so we didn't charge an upcharge. So whatever we paid, and like if they need PCs down the road or something like that, since we didn't upcharge them anything, whatever the quotes would be that they would get from these same companies would be the same as what we've already charged them. So some of that stuff would benefit. They would benefit from that. And so.
If I could dumb down what I think your proposal is. The things that your team have done as far as troubleshoot or problem solve or infrastructure build, we would ask them to find an outside vendor to do that. So, if they have a connectivity issue, or if they need a new PC, or if they have software updates or upgrades or licenses, they would work with somebody else. If they didn't have the capacity to do it themselves, they would work with somebody else other than us to accomplish those tasks. But the one thing that you're thinking we can do is we can continue to house their servers in our
They would use our storage.
and our server room.
Server room, yeah.
So
And all the connections that come into it, if we just release them from all that stuff, then the city of Geneva is out looking for that stuff again, like all the circuits and so on.
Right.
They probably would say, well, we'll just stay with the same people. Can we get off your contract? And we take over the.
Get our own contract.
And so on. We could almost keep it the same, but if we use those same companies that were with us right now to help us manage those, they could take that stuff over. And the charges would probably be the same, is what I'm saying with that. If they decide not to go with those people, if they want to go with someone else, then that's going to be a complete.
Have to negotiate their own.
Everything.
Their own
You're
solution.
on your own. You got to take over completely all that stuff.
The reason I liked what I heard from you is we've got a lot of money invested in our server room, our redundant power solution, our security, our redundant internet connections.
It's an enterprise level.
And that allows our cities and towns to continue to take advantage of that by having their data, their server setting inside of that environment.
Yeah.
So you don't have to build your own server room and build your own Halon system for fire protection and all that stuff that we already have. You would continue to take advantage of that, but it would just be the support would no longer be through Mike and his team. It would be through another entity that we would help transition you to. Is kind of what I'm hearing.
So what they're doing, that they're going to do partnership. What we would do is we just charge them for power, air conditioning,
Our out-of-pocket costs.
compute cycles. I
Right.
call it compute cycles, and embedded in with that would be power and air conditioning, generator, UPS, all that stuff, so that they don't have to do that stuff.
There's no reason that they should have to duplicate all that
They
stuff
don't have
in
to
every.
do any of that stuff.
Because we have
Basically-
capacity here. There's not a question of capacity for us.
No, we're good with that. We're good with that. All we would do is we would take those two companies that would partner with us, and we would charge them, since they're supporting the cities, we would charge them those fees.
And they would pass that through
They
to,
would pass it
the cities and
through,
towns.
and then they would handle any of their licensing and so on. They could also handle support. Now, I'm not saying that we would be against if there was any hands-on, because these people they would remote in to do some of the
Right.
software stuff. But if they said, hey, can you drive down to Geneva and we got a PC down there that's acting a little funny. Can you go down there and get it and bring it up into your data center so that we can get our hands on, if there was something like that. I wouldn't see that would be a problem. for us to go down there and do that, but.
But the first line of support would no longer be to you and your team. It would be to the vendor that they choose.
Yeah, and they can go out, they don't have to use the two that are here.
Right. It's just
But-
your
But
seat.
I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be a morass at that point.
But they understand how it works today and would be the most likely alternative for your use.
Exactly. Well, they're already giving support for that whole thing right now.
Right.
Each one of, the town of Geneva are already putting in for Decatur City Hall, their own firewall. It was done by these same companies. They were gonna manage it to begin with. This is all gonna be pretty much seamless at this point. If it's not this way, then, it's basically just tearing all that stuff off. And everyone's gonna have to be on their own to try and get it on the cities and towns, and it's gonna be more work than what they ever thought or anticipated. And it's gonna be tremendous amount of work on my department to separate them out. And I think that they would benefit a lot by continuing to say, we'll try and work with these two companies. Now, I just asked them before I went out on this, would they be willing to do that? And they said they would. They've even taken it up to their management, and they would like to partner with us on our data center.
Yeah.
Just as an outside group that sits in here, that they could offer support, continued support for the town of Geneva and the city of Decatur on our equipment with the thing that we would just charge them.
And
for the as whatever it is, whether it's a yearly charge, but we're gonna have to take a look at monthly invoices and see what's being used in compute cycles and so on. So it would just be basically on their part.
my understanding is that this is not uncommon, that there's a centralized location that has all the infrastructure built, that's a shared resource among lots of entities that park their server for inside of the server room and then remote in and do their work independently of the bigger entity, but that server just happens to set remotely located inside of a well-built enterprise level data center.
And there's plenty of other options that can go along with this, if you can get my drift.
Yeah.
It can go beyond. And it's a way for us to try and help to get the payment back on some of the hardware and so on that we put in place. Basically, anything that we did for the cities and towns were all at our cost. And there was no upcharge on any of that stuff, so.
So guys, the reason I asked Mike to come and kind of present this concept to us, I think we as commissioners probably need to give Mike guidance if this is the direction that you all think we need to go. And then maybe we could lay out a plan as to how you would begin to present this to City of Decatur, Town of Geneva, possibly fire departments as far as how we would work with them, or what they would have to do going forward and what we would do, and maybe even begin to have collaboration with your outside vendors. But I think I felt like the first step was we need to give Mike guidance. Yes, move forward with this plan. No, don't do it. We want to continue to support the towns and cities like we have. What do you think?
To me, it sounds like it's more complicated than less. We're still gonna have to maintain our infrastructure as far as the room, the hardware, the alternate power. We're gonna have to maintain.
Well, we have to do that anyway for our own use.
I know, but what I'm saying is, we're now bringing in third, fourth, fifth parties, whoever Geneva, Decatur, whatever, wanna deal with. So now instead of just us dealing with Decatur and Geneva, we're dealing with Decatur and Geneva plus these other entities, plus we still have to maintain our same room. So it sounds like it's more complicated, because we're still gonna have to do billing. we're still gonna have to do maintenance. We're still gonna have to allow these entities access.
It's much less, Stan. You're
Yeah.
completely off base. It's much
Yeah.
less work.
My question, Mike, would be, okay, you mentioned law enforcement. Law enforcement is our sheriff's department, right? Is it Bern PD, Geneva PD also?
They have to stay in there because they use their software.
Okay,
They have to be on our network.
okay.
Bird does-
So nothing would change for them, for the
Bird
PDs?
PD use ours?
Yeah, Vern PD's with
All the
us.
PDs do use ours.
Yeah, and 2 fire departments, Geneva Fire, Decatur Fire.
And that's
And I'm willing to leave the fire departments on. I don't have any problem with that. They can stay on. They're part of emergency communication. And I think they should be there. I would encourage other fire departments, but fire departments have to do a lot with, they have their own means of funding. And they have to do all kinds of things, raffles and whatever. And so they kind of go with a low dollar type solution because of that. on things.
Yeah, and I mean, Mike, you and I have already met at least prior to this meeting that obviously regardless of the decision, if it is that the municipalities' non-emergency services are going to be using kind of a separate system, it makes sense to have a unified system for emergency services. I think the sheriff would agree with that as well. I mean, it just for ease of access and for continuity between police forces and what they can see even in their own cars, it's a big deal.
Okay, so, I don't understand a lot of this stuff. I get the idea, but that's about it. My question would be, if we decide to go this direction, do you have any idea how much money it would cost, like Geneva, to do what you're talking about?
Well, it was no, because I'm just here today to see
Right.
what you got a stomach to
Right.
do,
But it would be an additional cost to them at the end of the day.
We're going to, at the end of the day, we already had that because of the council, mainly, they're wanting these outside entities to pay for labor. So whatever was gonna happen, I'm gonna have to try and keep track of labor now, that whatever we're doing, or it's just gonna be a flat out fee that we're gonna charge them, so they're gonna have to pay more, and I don't have a handle yet, on what direction we're gonna take. According to what we had with the council and with Shannon helping out with it, there was a process that we're going to do a single fee based on the number of users that they had. And we'd come up with a yearly fee on what that was gonna be. And so they're going to pay quite a bit, for that coming up, if we did that plan. Another plan would just be like a monthly charge, a flat out monthly charge per user. And Geneva went out and they found a group out of Fort Wayne that said they would pay X amount of dollars per user per month, and I talked to the guy and I got what their number was. Even that's gonna be fairly expensive, so they were gonna have to pay more coming up with what the council wants us to. I didn't have a problem with out charging because it was gonna be so much paperwork and everything else for me to keep track of
all that.
of all this stuff and hours that were being used and everything. And I'm struggling to try and keep up just now.
So in your vision, that need to track your hours and track your billable expenses would all go away because you wouldn't be doing that work anymore.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy for us to set up something up into there and we can come up, with, here's what the cost is gonna be. There's actually software that can do that that can come up and they can figure compute cycles, power, air conditioning, and that sort of stuff to be inside of our data center and come up with a fee based upon that.
Stan, I think to maybe speak to a little bit of your concern, in the banking business, we use a firm in our bank, we use a firm in Indianapolis, an organization in Indianapolis that provides co-location services for our backup data center. We still have a data center in Bern. We have a backup data center in Indianapolis. those people never hear from us. They have servers that sit in their building. We manage them, we operate them, we update them, we do all of the work. But that server sits behind their security, their multiple accesses to the internet, their multiple power sources. So we take advantage of all that infrastructure that they've got built down there. And we have servers that sit inside their building in their server room, but they never hear from us. We have to go visit it once a year. The FDIC makes us go visit it once a year so we can say, yep, we've been there, we saw it, it still is there, but they just never hear from us. But we do all the work. So what I think Mike is saying is that this outside company would do all of the work within that server, keeping it updated, troubleshooting it, all that stuff, and we wouldn't be involved in that.
No, we're not.
We wouldn't be involved in that. So I think
So
it
all the
really is
connections,
simpler.
We wouldn't have to bring any network connections that's currently here, because that's a big deal.
Right.
That's almost worse than saying, oh, here's your data. And now, you know, we have all these connections and so on. Now they have to try and get new connections and everything else set up, you know, and they have to get their own storage and their own servers and those sorts of things.
You really
Their own
don't have to,
firewalls.
you don't have to migrate the data anywhere. It still stays
I
where
don't
it's
have
sitting
to do
today.
any of that stuff.
So
And
it's
then I
all,
don't even have to manage it.
it really is a pretty, when Mike kind of started explaining it to me, it felt to me like kind of a win-win for us that we would,
Oh, yeah.
that Town of Geneva and City of Decatur would begin to manage their own through a vendor, I assume through a vendor, beginning to manage their own world, but they wouldn't have to totally segregate and build their own server room and build their own security system and build their own, because we have capacity and we have a darn good one that's already built and paid for.
Now, just, okay, I have tendencies to think we need to do something somewhat different, just to simplify things, if that is possible. Okay. At the end, then, would it cause Geneva perhaps to have to hire an additional employee, or would that be a contracted service?
No, they just would work with these two companies that we got
Okay.
here based upon, based upon.
And would it lighten our load as far as employees?
Absolutely, tremendously. It would lighten our load just from the standpoint that, because we're now having to take on things that we haven't had to take on in the past. And that's with cell phones and tablets and those sorts of things. And it used to be when I came in, not everyone even had a computer that they were assigned to. Now, not only do they have a computer, but everyone's bringing in their cell phones and they want on our network, whether we supply the cell phone or not. And we have to keep track of it. And some of the software that we have to use for things almost requires that they have a cell phone, a smartphone, just to get logged in, because that's the way things are going,
Well, that was gonna be my next
It
question.
really keeps them out of our network, right?
Yeah.
They no longer have, we no longer have to worry about them having a security lapse that allows penetration into our network.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so with your expertise in this field, as you look down the road 10 years, would this be heading in the right direction from your perspective?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. When the state came out and said you had to change your namespace, and I can make it very simple on your namespace. We were, if you had our old email address, at co.adams.in.us. The state says, we don't want you using that anymore. We have our own namespace in the state of Indiana that we want you to use. And so all 92 counties had to convert, but guess what, Doug? They said we cover 600 cities and towns. Well, Decatur and Geneva is part of that coverage.
different than the counties. Their namespace isn't gonna be quite the same as ours. So for them to be able to stay as, and even with licensing and so on that we're gonna have, they're gonna have to remain in a fashion on our namespace. And down the road, that's not good. It's not good because their police departments have to be on our namespace, which is, the new one is adamscounty.in.gov. So the police departments are gonna have to remain in that namespace. And it's gonna cause the cities all kinds of confusion. Guess what the namespace is that the state said Geneva's has to go to? Theirs is town.geneva.in.gov. That's different than adamscounty.in.gov. Guess what the city of Decatur's is? cityofdecatur.in.gov. And that's different than ours, but yet the police departments still have to stay on our network. And so they're going with our county namespace, and the cities have to change to another one, which they cannot do because they're part of ours. They're on our network. All the sheriff has to do is to come up and say, and it doesn't have to be this one, when Dan leaves and so on, and Flex comes up and says, we got this great solution on our software because of AI. We're moving to the cloud. Guess who doesn't need to be on our network anymore? The police departments. Because now that's up in the cloud. Here's our firewall. It's up into there. They don't have to come internally anymore. If you get the picture, they don't have to come in with it. It's setting up into there, and that's what the police departments use. So if the cities and towns are already in their namespace, then the police departments can come into their namespace. All their naming is now consistent with the city. So Decatur City doesn't have to do screwy stuff that they do right now to get cityofdecatur.in.gov and be on our network. They can now be on Decatur's network with cityofdecatur.in.gov as soon as that takes place. And I'm going to tell you, that's probably going to happen somewhere down the road. They may, Dan may say, I don't believe that. I most assuredly believe that because WatchGuard has already gone up in the cloud. WatchGuard used to be inside, and WatchGuard is a Motorola product.
Dan's shaking his head back here, so I think he's gonna agree with you.
No, that's what I was just gonna say. We've already moved our video there, and we still have Geneva and Bern on the old system, but they will be moving to it because it came in the middle of the budget area. So
one day it's gonna happen.
it's so much easier for our vendors to work on things when it's not in our network because of the permissions and stuff. So yes, Motorola, will it come to that eventually? I see that probably within the next 5 years, that will be on cloud too, and not on premise.
Yeah.
Well, if you want some guidance, Chairman, from my seat, I gotta go with the professional and his advice.
What I'd like to do, I think, is tell Mike which way to run.
Yeah, and
All I can say, if it puts you at ease, long-term, the situation with them being on our network, long-term, is not a good one. And that's the way I'm looking at it. It's, if the state would have said, yeah, they're gonna be on your network and it's gonna be under adamscounty.in.gov, I wouldn't be so much pushing towards this, but I know what's gonna happen, Doug.
yeah, I get
It's
it.
this other thing that's gonna happen within a few years, and it's gonna be clumsy. And now that we gotta make all this changes with the namespace and everything now, this is the opportune time. I haven't done any work with them to make the changes because I don't agree that putting them on our network is a good one right now because of these reasons.
With Mike's retirement, I guess, one of what the group that was challenged with how do we move forward, it felt like if we were gonna make this change, the time was now. While Mike's here, we can transition the town of Geneva and city of Decatur to their new world. And then ultimately, when Mike's replacement comes in here, they have less entities to try to figure out. You know what I mean?
Well, I really like the efficiency of, the infrastructure that you built, that we built here. And I think a big part that I've always supported that is for the efficiency of the county. And so, to keep our emergency personnel on there, I think is great. And if this is a good time to separate Decatur and Geneva, that's great. And if that will simplify things. But, when you talk about computing hours or whatever it is, one of the things that I think about, it was a couple years ago that we had to replace all of our servers. And in order to do that, we had to do quite a bit of work on the power room in order to make room for more racks so that we could migrate from old servers to new servers. And we had to do that just for the servers, we were over $900,000. So, as we maintain that infrastructure and we basically become the cloud for Decatur and Geneva effectively, somehow if that $900,000 replacement cost every 6 years or however we need to do it, 5 years, it is accounted for, whether the county decides to take in that responsibility for the hardware, and if that's through using billable computing hours, then that's probably a good process. But I do like, with what we have set up here, continuing to use that for the efficiency of the whole county and
There's just no use in asking the town of Geneva, go out and build $1 million server room.
No.
Because that's what they would have to do if their servers were protected, to protect their servers the way we have them protected here.
And if it simplifies things for us and for them to migrate Decatur and Geneva out of our network, I mean, I'm certainly fine with that. But I think we need
wouldn't
to.
have to spend $1 million for Geneva because they're so small.
Sure.
But it would take a little bit, because I tried to fit that in with the ARPA project and it just couldn't work. I mean, I was trying to even get to a point where I could take and build them a little data center in the second floor for the people that were here from Geneva. I can't turn around. I'm old and I can't turn around.
They're still there behind.
But anyway, I was gonna build them a data center and I couldn't fit it in, plus do the other stuff that they needed. And it was gonna, and they heard me talk, it was gonna get way up into money to put some of that stuff in, because we were gonna do it on the second floor. And, I thought for a while we were gonna have to do that because there wasn't another good solution to bring in these external offices, like it was the street garage, water department, and wastewater that were outside of that, and they're kind of remote. And so, they have some stuff where their stuff is there, and they're gonna have to do a little bit of that now after we got them all brought into our network. And it would be easier if they just took advantage and we're not talking, for you people in Geneva, don't get heartache at what these guys are talking about, because your footprint is so small. For us to charge you just a little bit for what little bit that you do, it's not gonna be, I don't foresee it being very much. I really don't, because you're only using a small portion of what's available. And they can even keep your current accounting system and everything that you're currently doing for utility billing and that, it all stay the same. It's all gonna be here on the same servers that's there, but the compute cycle for you guys, that's what we call it, is compute cycle. It's activity that you put forth onto our servers, and you know how many people you got, and you know how little that's gonna be when we get it down to compute cycles. We can get connections, we can monitor connections and what they're doing as far as compute cycles are concerned, and there's software that will tell us that's what it takes to accomplish that. And it's nothing for me. I just look at that and say, here it is, and that's the charge, and it's based on activity. And if your activity isn't very much, then you don't get charged very much. It's kind of like you get paid for electricity. If you don't use very much, then you don't get a very much bigger bill. And if you don't have very many users using it, then your bill's gonna be small. So we can't go by cost of what it takes for us to put in the data center, because the city of Decatur and especially the city of Geneva, they don't use very much of our data center. Guess who uses it? Adams County government and the law enforcement. They're the ones that they're the ones who doing all the compute cycles and everything else. But those offices in Geneva and Decatur, those servers are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. You know, there's not much activity going on. So I don't anticipate that those charges by these two companies, what we're charging them to manage their stuff, I don't see it being very high for them.
Well, you know, for my part, the direction I would like to give is maintain our current infrastructure, you know, that we have on an ongoing basis. Continue to support law enforcement throughout the county and start the migration of Decatur and Geneva off of our network.
And if they go with someone else, then we're gonna have to charge them our labor at that point to get them off. Tremendous, even for Geneva, what little bit that we have there, it's gonna take a tremendous amount of time. You know, economic development, two people. And they came in, they says, oh, it's gonna take up no part of your time. We can do it ourselves. And then before long, they said, we can't do it at all.
No.
We can't do it at all. You're gonna have to, for two users. And we had to get some help because it was stuff dealing with the cloud and with some licensing up in the cloud and so on. Had to get a company. We had to try and help pay for that. And, you know, if we have to do that with the cities and so on, then I'm gonna have to keep track of billing, and I'm gonna have to keep track of that, and we're gonna have to charge them. Then they're gonna have to pay for another company to get it in, and they're gonna have to pay for that labor to do all this stuff. It's not advantage for them to leave us completely or to
let me
move
ask
away
you-
from these two companies.
Let me ask you this between Mike and Steve. Do you think, in addition to migrating Decatur and Geneva off, would it be reasonable at this time to think about migrating non-county departments off, such as economic development?
Economic development's off, is
They're
that
off.
correct? So,
Okay.
but we would be talking about regional sewer district, probably.
Yeah.
I assume they're in our world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so, but what I heard, Stan, sounded suspiciously like motion to me. I felt that was what I was looking for out of this discussion, was to give Mike guidance. If the guidance is begin to work with the city of Decatur and the town of Geneva to migrate their IT support out of our world. I felt like that was what I heard in that.
I mean, I don't know if that's a complete enough motion or if you need more detail.
I don't know that we
But
want to get
that's
really
my
precise
thought.
in telling Mike how to do this, because I don't know where we're gonna go with it. And he's probably gonna feel his way along as he meets with Agnes. And Agnes, question?
Can I ask a question or
Sure.
clarification?
Sure.
Okay, three things. One, do we currently have a contract with the county for like the full year? It's like if we're needing to move off, can we start that at any time? We add some kind of, there's no point. in getting done till-
We don't have a, what's the
Interlocal?
interlocal agreement yet. We talked about devising those interlocal agreements to provide the IT services. That's what we were gonna work on. But I don't think we have one yet. So I think we could begin that migration tomorrow. If it takes 6 months, if it takes 9 months, I don't think there's any
If-
contractual obligation that would.
If we,
Stop us.
yeah, and to clarify that, Agnes, to clarify that, I would assume from our part, then if it ran into next year for a while, we wouldn't charge you for next year for any of the stuff that we have. We would say, if we wanted to move off, then we're gonna charge you for what you did in 2025 because, you know, but if it takes a little bit longer, we won't say, well, you gotta pay for a month in January or something like that while we're trying to migrate. you
At
off.
this point, though, we don't even have a strategy as far as how we would bill them for 2025, do we? Other than the out-of-pocket costs, if we bought a PC and we paid for it, we would bill them for that. But I don't think we have a strategy as far as per
We have an
hour.
ongoing contract that just is based on the spreadsheet from 2019 or something like that.
Okay.
Mark had a contract with the city of Geneva and Decatur.
Okay.
Based on that, and then it was just like, you just update the spreadsheet on the licensing costs were and those sorts of things.
I guess I would like to see a fairly clear line of separation, just like there, if they need a laptop,
They don't go through.
let them buy their own laptop.
No,
Right,
they-
yeah, we wouldn't
they-
we wouldn't be involved in any of that
Yeah.
anymore.
They would be with those two groups that are in here, that basically they're the ones that I bought that stuff from, so they're gonna get the same cost as what it was before. Cause,
So we would buy still their laptop?
No.
no, they're buying it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those people here, they're managing their network, so when they need a PC, there's one company that they would go to, and it's the same company that I bought them from, and so.
Agnes, question number 2.
Yes. Who are the two companies? Are we?
Yeah, it's ESI out of Indianapolis and Innovative Integration out of Indianapolis.
And Agnes, it's my position, I think it would be, you use whoever you want, but those two entities happen to be familiar with how we're built and how we're operating today, probably makes sense to at least consider one of those two to be your vendor.
Well, if they're coming in here and they're gonna use our stuff, they'll use both of them because one half does the switching, the other half does the Microsoft licensing and so on. So they're in partnership with both of them and based upon what their needs were. In other words, the ports that come into our firewall, they're still using our firewall, but it's like we just charge compute cycles again, you know, for the firewall part of it. And so those connections in from our circuits that go down to them, those circuits don't change. We're gonna pass off whatever the charges are that they currently are on the networking and everything.
I'm assuming that at some point, Mike and these two entities probably would come and make a presentation to town council that says, here's kind of the way it would work going forward. Here's my recommendation from Mike that you consider these two vendors because they're already familiar with your system. And then you would work with them as far as devising a contract and hourly rates and all that stuff.
So are these vendors, Mike, the same as if we were gonna use like that company out of Fort Wayne you referred to? These two vendors would be in place of using somebody like that? Okay.
Yeah, and they already know all about the licensing and everything else. They already know about your namespace
Mhm.
and all that stuff. They would just take control of that whole thing and try and make it consistent, but they wouldn't have to worry about moving data, getting new network connections. We would pass over the contracts with them that we
So
currently have.
they
with
would
them.
service us just as if we went out and got another company.
Yes,
Okay.
they would do everything for you, and it would be a more turnkey situation than you can imagine, because anyone else, and like the people that you're working with, there was gonna have to be lots of time that I was gonna have to spend with them.
Right.
Get your stuff with that. It was gonna be a team.
Okay.
Decatur would be a little bit more, but that's.
What else, Agnes?
The third question is, am I hearing or are we hearing, I think Mike clarified it pretty well with one of the last things he said. Geneva would then be charged, obviously, for the storage, because the data center is here. And that would be based on our usage, not on, okay, it's $900,000 and we're gonna pay a third of that. It would be based on usage.
It's usage.
Okay, because that would be scary if it was the other way.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't do that to you.
No, I didn't, you always told us you wouldn't, and you would always work with the county.
Agnes,
You know, if I was gonna be mean, I would have charged you labor and I would have done an upcharge on all the equipment for all these years, you know? And that's what's nice about this, because we didn't upcharge you for any of that equipment or anything. So like PCs, we got those with ESI. When you would get the same prices they had before, because I was just buying them and then just
No, we're waiting.
giving you the cost that they charged us. You had that. Well, they would charge you the same thing.
I got it coming.
To us instead of.
There would not be an additional upcharge because they already upcharged me for them, okay?
Yep.
So.
I think those are the only questions I have.
Okay, very good.
Stan,
Well-
you got anything?
Stan.
Or Lynn, I'm sorry. Lynn, you got any?
I got a lot of information I have to digest here, but I think
I
it's good information.
feel very confident that we will not leave you all hanging. That's not our intent here. Our intent is to try to make Mike's life and Mike's successor's life simpler. But at the same time, allow you all, City of Decatur, to utilize the tremendous infrastructure that Mike has built here from our power supply, our internet broadband connectivity, our data center infrastructure. There's no use in you going out and replicating that if you don't have to. And to be quite honest with you, the charge we may come up with may be so insignificant that we don't even, it's like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be pretty insignificant, I would think.
Mike's kept us pretty informed. We had formed a IT committee earlier this year, and we've met with Mike 3 or 4 more times.
The only thing is we move forward. It sounds to me like Stan's almost got the motion ready.
Yeah.
But I would encourage, anyone else like Geneva, like Decatur, like the rural sewer district, now would be the time, I think, to let's just lump it together and get it all done.
Think about making those separations.
Whoever those other entities are, Mike, I don't know who they are, but
So.
I thought that was a great.
Stan, your comment felt like it could be a motion to me. Tony, I don't know whether you captured that or not.
And I can add something here real
Okay.
quick before we make this motion.
Okay,
These outside entities could maybe still use our stuff just like the city, you know, but they
Yeah.
would be on the
Right.
outside and they would get the support.
Well, I assume that, yeah.
That they would be here.
Right.
This would be the ideal time. They're not really, we would do a separation of our stuff, so the security would be there, especially with law enforcement. They would still be using our stuff, but in different portions of it that would be separated, if you see what I'm saying. So like these other departments that are in this building, if they still wanted to use it, now this leaves out Purdue Extension because they're already off.
they're already out of our
They're
world,
already
out of our system.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, no problem there. I already talked to them about that. So, but it'd be the other people, they could take benefit if they wanted to, or if they want to be like economic development. We're just gonna do the clear cut, okay. You know,
Stan, is you want
So
your
I-
motion to stand or you want to amend?
I guess what I would include is that we continue to maintain our current infrastructure of hardware in that includes the power supply and
It
the
includes
associated
backup too,
utilities.
and I didn't say that
And-
because they can use our backup equipment as well and still be on the same backup jobs.
And that was gonna be my next question on the tape backup, because I know you mentioned we may need to replace that physical tape backup, so I think that along with my separation, you know, one of the things is non-county entities that includes Decatur and Geneva, but not limited to them. It would also include the sewer district if possible and.
I failed to mention backup.
Yeah.
Because it's possible, because they're still staying on our network. We wouldn't even, it would just be a different backup job, but it could still be on our same hardware. We would just charge a compute
I guess
cycle type thing. and
let me
they
try
said-
and clarify this motion so we can get that.
Yeah.
For Tony's sake.
We need to.
Um, First off, that we maintain our current infrastructure. And that includes power backup, HVAC, all the associated infrastructure. The other thing is to offer a separation from our network to non-county entities. And that would include Decatur, Geneva, or other school district or whatever. But the other thing, I guess I'd like to see a clear separation of the responsibilities. And if we are able to provide a backup, then we can still provide that, but a clear understanding of what that separation line is. So, but then the other thing is to continue to provide services for Adams County Emergency Services. So I don't know if there's anything else in there that.
It feels like we're asking Mike to migrate all non-county entities off of our network, maintain the system he currently has for the county government, and maintain the system we have for
And
public
I
safety.
don't know whether we want to require non-county entities to migrate off, such as a sewer district. Or if we want to offer that. Because when I look at non-county entities, technically that's council on aging too.
You know, it's, I think we set that as a goal, that they be migrated off by, pick a reasonable date, mid-year next year, June 30th next year.
Yeah, if nothing else, carbon copy economic development.
Yeah.
And so that would be, I feel like, I understand what your motion is. Do you understand what that, does that give you enough guidance to walk out of here and know
Does
where we
backup
want
need
to
to be
go?
mentioned?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Let him work out those
Okay.
details.
I'll work out the
Okay.
details. But
Just
I
so
just
that-
wanted, in case Geneva would ask or Decatur would ask, yeah, this includes using our backup systems, but we're not managing it anymore.
You can make this process make sense.
Tony, you got enough?
I got like 6 paragraphs.
Okay, sounds like a motion to me.
I'll second.
Is that a
it.
second?
Second, yes.
Okay, that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, thanks for coming in, Agnes and Lynn.
Yeah.
I'd have you read it before I.
Okay.
We'll send them out.
I'll take a look at it. Thanks, Mike. Shannon, what have you got for us? We've got a hard stop at noon is what I'm looking at. Okay, nothing for us? Anything from the public? Don, what are you thinking?
I got a letter that was sent to me. The date coming up relatively soon. And you guys are to provide information.
Is that the the Freedom of Information Act request
Yes.
that we received?
Yes.
Clayton, where are we at on that?
I mean, I've got so many now at this point. What was the date we said we would respond by or provide it to the best of our ability?
November 27th, I believe, that was a reply date. You honored the 7-day return originally.
It's different subject.
I'm sorry.
That was to obtain the right of way information on my property.
Mm-hmm.
I've not received anything. I'd just like to know if there is an update. Is that date of the 27th in progress yet?
I mean, yeah, I've been working on collecting all of the requested documents for every single FOIA request that I receive. Whether that's, there's been multiple related to this project. There are multiple for various things every week. So at this point, you should have the documents you requested to the extent that they're not privileged documents or that FOIA is applicable to them, as that letter stated, by the 27th, or a response indicating if there's some hiccup and we need a little bit more time to get them, we'll indicate the same to you by letter. Mm-hmm.
Anything else in public? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
second. We're adjourned.